All right, man, I have been delaying in doing what I'm about to do, but my hope and what is going on? Just checking the, all right, that's full screen. And then, why is this so teeny tiny? Okay, there it is. Good. All right, great. I think I'm ready to go. Um, I'm gonna just check the audio over here. How's the audio? I'm gonna just check. It's a little quiet. I feel like if I gotta hold this thing closer to my mouth, but I move around too much. Anyway, the plan was the other day, there was a Jupiter community call. These things have been going on for quite a while, at least since like 2019. It's good that they're still happening. But I figured that I would give. Oh no, I don't want that. I figured that I would give a uh, talk. It was very last minute. I like to sometimes I challenge myself to make presentations in under 24 hours. Sort of inspired by what's that guy's name? McLeod. 24-hour Scott McLeod. 24-hour comics. Yeah, 24-hour presentations. So it looked like there was a bunch of administrative stuff on the agenda. Uh, so I gave a talk, and what I want to do now is just go to mine. I'm just going to jump to it. And then. What? No.
I
I must accidentally click something. Okay.
Hi, everyone, and welcome.
Don't click anything. So I went down and time stamped everything after the event. So I just want to watch mine and then record it so that I can put it on the channel. Felt
There we
weird
go.
saying that.
Need the audio, huh? Oh, there we go.
Okay. So I'm going to dump off the stream right
Oh, there we go.
now.
Need the audio, huh?
Very, very cool. I really like the idea of being able to.
Who's our next speaker?
Okay. So I'm going to switch screens and then just hit record.
Oh, there we go. Need the audio, huh?
Very, very cool. I really like the idea of being able to include artists in this process. There's quite a bit to learn from their experiences. So we should be seeing a notebook. Is that happening? Radical. All right. Let me get into Zen mode here. It's kind of the way I present now. Uh, Man, in the past we would have seen like 3 or 4 notebooks by now. So I feel like I'm dressed for a different party. But anyway, I'm gonna share this weird notebook, and I'm gonna talk about a bunch of my experiments in using notebooks as a medium for video. So I've always taken a very broad, like outsider perspective on the notebook. I see it as a tool for art and science and literature. But also too, I
Who's our next speaker?
Oh, there we go. Need the audio, huh? Um, Very, very cool. I really like the idea of being able to include artists in this process. There's quite a bit to learn from their experiences. So we should be seeing a notebook. Is that happening? Radical. All right. Let me get into Zen mode here. It's kind of the way I present now. Uh, Man, in the past we would have seen like 3 or 4 notebooks by now. So I feel like I'm dressed for a different party. But anyway, I'm gonna share this weird notebook. And I'm gonna talk about a bunch of my experiments in using notebooks as a medium for video. So I've always taken a very broad, like outsider perspective on the notebook. I see it as a tool for art and science and literature. Um, but also too, I have this really fluid concept of physical notebooks for drawing and calligraphy, um, and computational notebooks. So I try and like achieve the same quality of emotion or feeling working in both. For me, I'm curious about like how we get notebook since notebooks are like a new media. How do we stop getting them to do the work of the old and do the work of the new? So I'm kind of starting off with this like connection here between skate parks and Jupiter Lab. This was something that Nick and I talked about in a presentation years ago. This juxtaposition of the two and being able to do tricks and have fun and build community, I see a lot of parallels there. But what I've been really interested by recently is this concept of hyper film. Uh, and in when Ted Nelson presented the concept of hypertext and hypermedia in his 1960 paper, the paragraph afterwards had this concept of hyperfilm, which is something we haven't heard yet, but we're really seeing a proliferation of film in the world and in media. So I can start to understand it a little bit more, but I don't understand stuff until I start playing with it. So there's this really cool Werner Herzog documentary with Ted Nelson, and it's just absolutely delightful to hear him talk about a file system like water, because he comes from a filmmaker perspective, but he's also a computer scientist. Rest in peace, bro. Um, but one of the big inspirations for this is a project called Oriole. So let's see, 9 years ago, 8 years, 9 years ago, Paco Nathan talked about a program that O'Reilly was doing where they basically synced up notebooks and film and video. You could play code that Peter Norvig wrote. And Fernando said, in Oriole, we get the complete integration of video synchronized with the flow of text. That's that's something to explore there. At the end, we actually learned some like early prescriptions for writing and making notebooks that are good for video. Focusing on units of thought, like scoping things, is very important. Restart and run all. That has influenced me since I saw this talk. If it doesn't restart and run all, GTFO. Um, so uh, I personally find from like the outside and the some of the situations I find myself in, like presentations and conferences right now are fairly inequitable. Like some people can't afford it, some people can't travel, it's not safe, it's not accessible, there's uncertain risks, some people can't expend the time or the spoons to do this. So I really think that video sort of liberates some of this and kind of makes the web a stage. And then it also makes the in-person presentation more important, right? It's like seeing the band after you've been listening to it. So I really think that streaming and presenting can liberate ideas. And this actually is not a new thing. There's a paper about film. It's called In Defense of the Poor Image. And it talks about the poor image being uploaded, downloaded, shared, reformatted, re-edited, transformed into accessibility and exhibition, having value in film and clips and all this like media mashing, basically. It sounds like cassettes and mixtapes and skateboard videos. And I really think that there's something to learn from those cultures. So, I started thinking about like, what can we learn from like old modern art? How can we practice art in the notebook sort of thoughtfully? This is an old Duchamp video that plays at the MoMA, but it's just simple circles. But you know, like a few simple circles that you can stare at for minutes is kind of these letters are on a wheel. It's amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. Anyway, so this digital video concept is like critical in digital cultures. Having presentations and few digital interactions makes it hard to have the digital culture. So being able to make video has propelled skateboarding, BMX, voguing, rollerblading, roller skating, calligraphy. Like calligraphy used to be a static thing, but now you can watch somebody do it and it's so calming and beautiful. And what it really is talking about is the work around the work has made these things accessible. It's not about doing it right, it's about the style and how you do it. So for me, from an accessibility perspective, I'm interested in exploring video and audio because they're multimodal elements. I can have multiple tracks in there, multiple kinds of text, multiple data about this thing, and it really helps me, and it really makes me think very hard about how to make this accessible. So the first thing that I want to talk about is a video of a notebook being made. So this is a stream I did with where we went from a blank notebook to an accessible heat map. There's a screen reader user on the call. I'm making MB convert things. I'm sending it to them by email. They're opening it up in the screen reader, telling me what they hear. And in an hour and a half, we actually had like an accessible solution. So that kind of feedback I never would have been able to have through text. From the concept of having a notebook already to making that video, a notebook in the hand is worth two in the bush. So what I mean by that is if you make a notebook and then you do a stream about that notebook, you're also making a notebook about that stream. So you're doing commentary, video commentary, which is really important work around the work for somebody to understand what's happening. So notebooks kind of multiply. This is one where I have a notebook, I make a stream, and I make a new notebook, but I also export a whole video version of this notebook with a screen reader running. And then some of the really weird stuff that I've been getting into is putting sorry, I don't know what I stopped thinking about time at this point. And just kind of go into quality. Oh, we're good. All right, great. Thanks, Rosio. So I wanted to kind of get to the end here, and this is the Palmer Penguin data set. And I wanted to explore let's see, let's get to a little dancey. Yeah. So you know, the Palmer penguins, it's the less able or less controversial data set for PCA. I plotted them in some HTML and then I put video elements there, and I thought it was really fun just to see what it would look like and how the colors would interact. Again, these are studies, but I've never looked at visualization so long. So that brings me to like notebooks as a, oh, let me show you the next one that I've done. This was an experiment I did yesterday where I took a study of some modern art, and then I started thinking, oh, well, what if I could, you know, put some video elements inside some circles, you know, like this is just like natural material now. And then what sort of happens, you know, it's like, I don't know, I think it's quite fun. It's an interesting mirror. So that was some new work. And at this point, I've done multiple streams. So this is like a practice. They're usually about an hour, hour and a half, 2.5 hours. You start to get tired. But again, it's a practice and it's sort of forward thinking. So all of these streams here, they have a notebook that comes out of them. And we are also start to see the value in having these videos ahead of time is that I can go and start stitching things together from other pieces and like taking static shots out of them. This is a skateboard magazine technique. When we had VHS early on, we'd go and fill up the page with like 12 or 16 shots. And now, you know, it becomes interesting and it starts to capture the process. So we can almost like do that in reverse. So I did some calligraphy in that one. This one here, I just listened to an article, listened to 2 essays, and did some drawing while it was happening. And again, all of these things are in the notebook, happening in the notebook. This is some data framework. So, there's such a variety of topics that can be tackled in here. For me, especially, this notebook is a really good mirror. For me, it's like pictures and high resolution ones upset me. So this helps me like avoid a static perception of myself. It helps me experiment with like video being the most perceivable media type. Streaming and filming creates organic content. A lot of people say it takes a long time to generate minutes of content, but if you're streaming and filming and you film and you do that for 3 hours, you have a 3-minute video. So, persistence in this process is great. B-roll will be great for the culture. Building a backlog is more important than building viewers, and seeing yourself and practicing and improving. Um, and one of the things I keep learning is like I really have to use MB Convert to export stuff in Jupyter for an accessible experience. I don't know if there's something to that actually as like a simpler way to interact. And lastly, my suggestion is for everybody, download OBS right now and start. You don't have to stream. Maybe record a little bit. Hear yourself. Tolerate yourself. See yourself. It'll be a little bit it'll be, for some people it might feel better than others, but starting sooner than later, and sharing with other people, I think is an opportunity to build a digital culture around these things that could uphold some of the more in-person and visible parts of the work.
Thanks so much, Tony. I think there's a question by Matt about where we can find your stream. So if you're willing to share maybe your channel.
All right, cool. I think I got it. Now is probably time. Cut. Transition. There we go. I should go and start uploading this. I'm just gonna. Where the video recordings go? File. Once this gets up there, I think I might have to watch it one more time. I watched it without much. When I took my first pass at watching that, I was a little bit dismayed at the number of ums. And there were times when it mattered more. But also, I hadn't practiced this presentation. The presentation I had done before was actually mentioned in the presentation, where I had recorded one, and that one was geared more towards the screen reader. And as far as like accessibility and language goes, it's one of my better works. So I'm gonna select this, and now it is being uploaded. And what did I call this talk? So this talk is over present. Notebook is a stage. Notebook stage. Notebook's a stage. Okay. A off-the-cuff presentation about how notebooks are good, how computational notebooks are great substrates for streaming on different topics. So right now, this doesn't have the timestamps. It is uploading. Let me keep finishing this out. And then I don't want to add an end screen. Checks. They're going to check it later. And I'm just going to make this one public. Set date to make your video public. And I will make it public tomorrow. I like this idea, actually. I haven't tried scheduling this stuff before. What day is tomorrow? Tomorrow is the day after today. That's crazy. How's that even happen? Schedule, cool. So I wonder what's going to happen there. So it's got some time left. I'm just going to let it do its thing while I get back to talking about, what do I want to talk about now? Let's go and okay. Now I think that there's two things that I haven't shared from a programming perspective that I should share. And let's hope the MB viewer likes me right now. And I think they're both called Illusion. Okay. I don't know if I showed this one before. I don't think I did, because it would have been right up leading to the presentation. So there is a Bauhaus optical illusion MoMA, and if we go to images, circles, it's circles. That's I don't remember where the picture is. I've got it in a book that I'll have to find. Bauhaus. Maybe it wasn't optical. Maybe it was just called illusion. It's in their collection. It's in a book. I wonder if maybe they don't own it anymore. I don't know. I'll find it later. Anyway, it looks exactly like this, except it's a painting. So what do you got? You got some overlapping circles. They're made with a list. And then there are some things that we can change. We can change the radius of the circles, and we can change the amplitude. We've got one with like 100 elements, and then we've got one with 24. So then as we keep, changing the radius, we start to get all of these different moire patterns showing up, which is just absolutely stunning. And then the amplitude starts to twist things and change the overlappedness. Let's call that a magic word. But yeah, these are like beautiful, beautiful surfaces. And I think one of my favorite things about, like, basically, like, I saw this picture of these circles, doing their like slinky thing, and I was like, oh man, that would be really cool if you could just like play around with that, or like, kind of make it dance. And this is, I don't know, I think it's interesting because when you start to, oh, I love these scallopy patterns, they're beautiful. I get these sometimes when I draw. They're like interesting singularities, especially like when I do these like overlapping and repetitive calligraphy marks. It's really great. Beautiful little conic here. So one of the things that intrigues me about this specific notebook is that it took me like, I don't know, like 10 or 15 minutes to write or so, but I've been interacting with it probably close to 2 hours at this point. But then, so I did that study and I got curious about, well, what if instead of illusion 10, is this it? Close that. Okay, so it asks for my camera. So I'll give it the camera and then I'll allow it. So instead of having circles, just circles, what it has instead is it has video elements. So let's go and make the radius really big. Usually, I think like 40 is a good place to be. And then let's go crank down the opacity. And now I can actually like interact. I think these things are really like mirrors. Because it's interesting when you call a thing a mirror, all of a sudden it starts like looking back at you. You see you looking back at you. But yeah, with more circles, we get more smoothing. So what we've got going on here is we've got like a circular radius in our CSS. So that loads the cameras. And this is, what the fuck? What did I do? Circles. There it is. So we got a radial gradient that goes out to an alpha that can be controlled. And at small enough alphas, you start to get this almost like impressionist look of things. It's almost painterly. I really like it. Again, I keep interacting with these things, and I'm noticing a trend in that I really like seeing many of me. It helps with this like sense of self I have of multiple sort of facets. But yeah, no, I kind of. Oh yeah, let's do like hot dog fingers from like hot dog fingers. Wow. Anyway, super great. I had a lot of fun doing these, and it's made me think a lot more. So I like these studies. They might seem obscure, but in my mind, they are pretty forward thinking. Okay, trying to get the transform, edit, transform, reset, close, and then okay, drawing computer, drawing. Okay. Okay. And then transition. All right, great. So I think what I wanted to do now was go and talk about some of the stuff that has been in my notebook since the last time I cracked it open. First of all, this is the first notebook that I have done in a very long time that does not have the F word anywhere. I'm going to try and keep it that way, but man, that's saying something. Okay, cool. It's a little shadow. Maybe that's better. Great. So the last time we left off, I think it was here. I think I was talking about the notebook as a frame and all the other things it is. So this is even where the notebook is a stage, comes in the first entry. So it's a lot of things, and there's a lot to explore. Since it's a lot of things, it can connect in a lot of ways to a lot of different sensory ratios. These drawings here are some ideas that I've had, right? When you're making a visualization, you're plotting points. So what is a point? I'll probably talk about this like touch on this a few times while I'm sharing these things. I think I've been thinking about it a lot. I also dug into Kandinsky's point, line, and plane again recently. So I've been thinking about it. But one way to imagine a point, is that it's the intersection of two lines. So what if we made plots out of intersections of lines instead? The intersections will tell something about the shape or the concavity of things, like especially if it's a convex, then you'll have certain normals or certain patterns in the normals. You'll almost get like some of the same overlapping effects that we got in that MoMA piece that we were looking at. Yeah, almost like the lines just go off to infinity instead. The grid's forever. So what's this here? I think that this is thinking. Last time I talked about this drawing, but this is a concept around I was trying to figure out the relationship down here between the schema and the API in regards to like how an object's represented. Like the API is an interface and the schema is an interface, but the schema is about the data. It can be validated. The interface is just abstract. So this is, I guess, thinking a little bit about that. It looks like there's a axis for the schema, and there's an axis for the API, and my belief is that everything that we do, every problem is an expansion and a compaction. It works like an engine. Every expansion and compaction is one rotation in an and we can start to measure RPMs. I think then I must have, I guess I realized that the schema had something more to do with the nouns and the API has something more to do with the verbs. Not sure yet. I gotta think about that a little bit more. But not concrete, but it's drawn there, so you think about it. And then it's interesting because all of this like started with data in the center, and eventually it like worked its way out to down here. But all this has always been about data, and one of the things that I believe needs to come out for an object, or one of the higher level things of an object, is the distribution. And there's an ambiguity here because we can either think of, say, the software distribution, or we can think of the statistical distribution. It depends on what frame we're observing this from, or what lens we're looking at it from. But nevertheless, the distribution has a volume. Weight, W-A-I-T. Weight, W-E-I-G-H-T. Damn, Tony Tone. I guess there's a bunch of play there. So definitely playing on the homophone weight, but then also the idea of weight and tone being related in the sense of a line. So I don't know, another sort of stream of consciousness thought. And over here on the left, it says histograms are silent. I think the idea behind that is all the vertical and horizontal lines, or at least from some abstract theories, are silent. So in a histogram, there isn't any curvature at all. It's just all boring ass squares. I don't know what it means. Start on the left side here. This one says, back to our old good grief, bad grief, like Animaniacs. But I think one of the things that sort of changed my perspective a little bit is that, like, grief is okay when you consider how it made you better, but when you consider it as a way to avoid stuff, it can be quite detrimental, especially for the autistic folks that I thought about when I was drawing this one. It says in their own time and space. And then over top of it in gold, over top of time in gold, is the word line. So there's another interpretation: in their own line and space. When we meet, we intersect. It's just little points walking around, bouncing around. But this is I believe it's an interpretation of like the Maori term or word for autism, and it's nice. It doesn't have, it eschews any of the standard Western models of disability, and it's just acknowledges that, you know, everybody's on their kind of own shit. It's good. Over here, I've got a hidden concept that I want to play with. So this is conceptually a film strip, and then it's got these circles over top of it because I want to play with those circles that I demonstrated, but as a mask over top of video. I'm curious if there's ways to like superimpose color over top of things by using the right blurring techniques and stuff. Feels pretty good. No left page here. I guess I was spending some time here thinking more about how the notebook needs to be set up. As always, I really just like, absolutely love this gold over top of the black, though. I think of note on this page, though, is this table here. When I'm designing accessible experiences, there's a need to put everything that needs to be heard for a screen reader or felt by a braille user has to be text on the page somewhere. It can be visible or invisible, but you need to be able to link it with ARIA label or ARIA describes by, right? So dialogue is a way to put text on the page that is hidden by default. So it's a purely non-visual technique, at least at the onset of the page. Details, on the other hand, is like semi-visual. It's like compacted down. So I can still hide ARIA labels that I want to use inside of a details, but like maybe I don't need the user to experience this or perceive this by default, and it's an option. And then we're kind of left with regions. Like all of these are basically different kind of group types. But when I'm making choices about specific regions on the page, which kind they are and which semantics they get is basically defined by whether or not I need to be able to see it by default, whether it needs to be an option to whether there's a visual option to see it, or if it's completely hidden. And if it's visual, if it's part of the flow, if it's hidden by default and part of the flow of the document. And then the dialogue element we use when it's not part of the flow of the document, then we get a pop-up guy. I think I'm happy to have captured that. Cool. Great. I think it was funny how we talk about a work of art called a work of art. Because all you see is the art. The critic only sees the, I don't know, whatever. But there's so much stuff you don't see. And that's the work of accessibility to me. These are some new concepts for some plots that I want to try out here. I'm really interested in what happens when we start playing with like rotational axes and Z dimensions and opacity, and you know, at the point that I can imagine having a cube of data visualization or pieces of data visualization, maybe I can crack this thing open and it's layered, and now I have tactiles inside the whole thing. If I can start to imagine this more as a physical unit of material, the closer I can get to having something digital that gets printed. But even still, like what kind of cool stuff can we do? Can we even think about like a double Y plot as like basically just like looking at a cube straight on and seeing this level and that level with no perspective? But then when we start adding perspective, what do we see? Or when we rotate and we change axes, like what does that mean? But in theory, this could be a physical thing that we're actually holding and touching. And yeah, I don't know. Something to think about. This one I'm calling a lathe plot, which is something that can spin. And I'm wondering if through the movement of a line projected onto the surface, if some animations or something might provide some interesting patterns. Or I don't know. You don't know, but that's why it's interesting. This here says, what does the back of a plot look like? It's a very, to me, I guess in my approach to trying to consider data visualization and computer work as art, an authenticator would ask for a physical piece of art, they would look at the back. It's almost as important as the front sometimes. They'll ask, what year is that dust from? We ask, what year is that sand from? 1969. Mother of all demos. This is another piece. I actually have a notebook that would programming keyboard. Okay, great. So if I transition over to programming keyboard, and then I go and, okay, our video is almost done. Our notebook is a stage video is almost completed. And I wanted to get Jupyter Lab up because here we go. So in Jupyter Lab, I think I made a piece called Reality. Yep. So Reality uses this tool I like called the Jupyter Bounding Box widget. I basically took all the terms that are in the document and I gave them a class name. We give them a class name. And then we put a bounding box around where they are. And now this is a description for each of them and a data frame that eventually I hope to go and turn into different approaches to visualizing this. Like one of them is an image with a map set over top of it, or a table over top of a background CSS image. I'm gonna try a few different things, but I'm really curious about how folks can go and experience these calligraphy works a little bit differently digitally. Yeah, cool. But yeah, I do often think about how people tell me that my weird ideas are not right because they're not real because of what something isn't. That never doesn't really tell me what it is though. So sometimes I still feel like we can experiment in finding out what things are, even if dogma says otherwise, within reason, of course. This is my first drawing that has bubbles on the page, and I absolutely love them so much. I have this belief that there is a plot type that will smoothly transition from points to circular markers to lines. So like what could a line be? A line could be a circle that gets rotated and stretched, and then they can connect. And then the point becomes very, very small. And what's the smallest point? 1 point, 1 pt. So we actually have bounds on, there's actually a physical kind of point that we can use. And then the other concept that I have been considering, I saw a bunch of modern artworks on glass, and especially with like the acute lighting in most museum circumstances, the shadows are really stark. And I've been wondering if that's a technique we could use in data visualization. Kind of like if instead of this cube being solid and opaque, what if it was layers of glass? What if every point got a pane of glass? What would happen with the shadows if we shine light through it from different directions? I really don't know, but these are all interesting visual mathematical transforms. I don't think we ever talked about this. It says, what's the point? The point is the point. That's a backwards tautology. Well, it's also where two lines intersect, which we talked about before. That's plain and clear. It's really bad puns, but whatever. Twisting context makes you think a little bit differently. So in this one, we've got shadows, and then we've got bubbles over the shadows. And like a common technique in some visualization is to use jitter. But what if jitter was actually like real motion done in a way that was calming and pleasant, and aesthetically useful, but also realistically interpretable? Maybe we experiment with bubbles sometimes. This one here is kind of thinking about all the different ways that, again, a notebook can be used. I think specifically the two things worth mentioning is that it can be used as a means and it can be used as an ends. And that's even like sometimes when I'm drawing work for friends or clients, I'll do a lot of drawing in the notebook. I'll come up with an idea, I'll work it, beat the shit out of it. That's the means. And eventually I do something final in it. That's the ends. So, these things change with context. So to like isolate like one, I don't know. There's no point in talking about what it's bad at. Finding out what it's good at is actually the real challenge. So I haven't done, poopy. I didn't show any of those things up close. What a bummer. I'm not going to care about that anymore. Nobody's watching, but at least I've got video. So I got 12 minutes and I want to run this out. So I think I'm going to switch over to programming mode, to programming. And what I want to do is I want to figure out how much I So how are we going to do that? I think I told you all a little earlier that I was kind of tripping on a feeling. So let's go to our YouTube Jupyter community call. And then we're going to go and we're going to grab I think that there should be a show transcript. Okay. And then let's see, can I, English auto-generated, search in transcript. Okay. Let's just go and grab this is the cheapest way to get everything, isn't it? All right, cool. So let's go over here, and then let's crack open a new notebook, and we're gonna go all your base, and then we're gonna call this the transcript. And it's just plain text. Okay. Text. Plain. Okay, so that should come back to us as a string. That means it won't show anything, and then we get the transcript. Okay. All right, cool. So let's go and take the transcript, and it looks like if I do split lines, and then I go and I zip. I'm just going to do split lines, and then we're going to go and do a series. And it looks like, yeah, everything's staggered. Okay, so now I'm going to take the values, and then I'm going to reshape them into whatever this is, and then 2 is one dimensional, but 2 were indexed. Too many indices. Okay, so I think I can go and do, oh, no, reshape. Okay, lines, values, reshape, and we're going to do lines divided by 2, 2, len. Okay, float cannot be used as an integer. Bitchin, int, len, int, floor it. Okay, great. So now if we go and put that into our data frame, okay, that's pretty cool. And then let's call these columns equals time, and then words, and then split. And then we've got this df, and then df time. Can I pandas to date time this? Prefer functional to date time. What hour must be 24? Oh, it says hour. Okay, so these are okay. So why don't we just, okay, so we've got df, and we've got time, and then we've got string, and then we've got extract, and then we can go and do is it p, I don't, oh no, it's this p hour, and then it's 0 to 9 star, and then minute. So this is a maybe, and then this is a maybe, and then minute is always there. That's not a maybe, so that is that, and then second, plus at least 1. Oh, that was horrible. Okay, so that got the hour. And then, okay, do we get the, okay, do we get the minute? Got the minute. We did not get the second. Okay, because we missed that. Okay. Okay, So that one says the hour first. Oh, that's kind of sucks. So it takes maybe that one. Okay, well, let's just extract that this way. T min. K is NA unterminated. Apply bool. Okay. Not. Okay. So then we're going to say that in this case, bad. Okay. So then we're going to say T loc T dot index comma hour equals 0. Think that should fix it. Okay, so bad index. Invalid index error. Loc. Okay. What we got now? That's better. All right, great. Oh, it's going so bad. Okay. Bad index. Bad index. Oh my God, I am about to give up. Anyway, let's do it this way. I'm gonna go back. How do I slice this up? Okay, so df time apply lambda x x dot count colon. Okay, great. Equals 1. Okay. Okay. df. So now those are all the ones that have 1 in front. And then we are going to say, let's call these bad. And then say, bad equals bad time. I like that. It was a bad time. I wanted to be further along at this point. Okay, so now I can go and replace df bad time df bad index time equals that unhashable type index. Oh my God, this is fucking annoying me right now. I really wish that I would. There's some sound going on outside, and I'm kind of distracted by it. Can I? Nope, that's louder. Anyway, back to it. Loc. Bad time. Okay, now. All right, great. Time, string, split. Extract equals true. Expand equals true. Rename columns equals dict enumerate year min sec split. Okay, that's great. And then how does count work? A, B, C, A, B, B, D, count, A, B. Is it count the substring? Okay. All right, so then let's go and do, okay, so this is the, so these are the years, and then we're gonna do df assign, or, yep. Okay, so now we got the timestamps. Great. And then we can go and take the words and we can go and split them up. And then we can do, let's explode them. And then let's do string count, string lower, string count, I wonder if I can do two things, because I wanted to count the uhs and the ums. Okay. So okay, so how many uhs and ums? All right, 550. But this might be including some things. So let's see where string count this okay, greater. I think I can just probably do Okay, so then if I go and take this index and then I do drop duplicates, okay, and then I go and look at this, then we get okay, so let's go. So we did a split here. I mean, all this looks pretty legit. Okay. So let's go and do a, so we got ums, and then we're gonna go and group by axis equals 0. And then we're gonna do sum. And then we can go and do df dot assign df. Okay. And then if we go and do a, it's not a year, it's an hour. Crazy. Hour. And then let's just say, okay, let's go and do df hour mul 60 plus df dot min as type int. Oh, no, I can go and make them all as type here. Okay. So now those are the minutes. And let's go and say df min equals this del df hour. Okay, so now if I go and do group by min dot iterable integer not iterable integer not iterable integer. Okay, group by and then sum. Okay, lower okay, now we have the number of ohms per minute, I guess. Plot. Wow, cool. All right, and the number of, let's do rolling. Let's say rolling over, oh no, okay, set index min rolling every 3. Oh, I don't want to do that. Never mind. Let's go back to the group by. It's easier. Group by every minute. Actually, we can do df min. This works too. And then this lets us do div every 5 minutes. Okay. So okay. So my talk went from 43.36 to 56.50. 43.36 sum dot loc dot 43 to 57. So wow, let's see. So during that time, print 146. I don't know, man. That's crazy. I hope, man. Wow. If I go back and look at that, wait, okay. Okay. 141. Anyway, this was a brief way to look at the ums. It was interesting to try out. I'm going to give it up now.